Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Luke Fickell, the Wisconsin Badgers, land a massive commitment coming from the transfer portal and former Stephen F. Austin defensive lineman Brandon Lane. And I think when you start to talk about Brandon Lane, one, you say it's been a wild last couple of weeks for this kid in the portal. Was committed to Michigan State, was committed to Louisville, now committed to Wisconsin. But I just saw on Twitter as well, he signed his papers. So if you're a Wisconsin Badger fan, you feel pretty good about him ending up playing for Wisconsin in 2024. And then you talk about a guy like Brandon Lane. This was one of the more coveted interior defensive linemen that was available in the portal. And you make no mistake about it, Luke Fickell wanted to add a big body on the inside of the defensive line heading into 2024. Missed on a few guys, right? Javier Suggs goes to LSU. I mean, circling back, coming in last minute, landing Brandon Lane. This is a big time commitment for the Wisconsin Badgers. Want to do two different things. One, talk about Brandon Lane, what he brings to this Wisconsin program heading into 2024, but also give a little transfer portal grade out for Wisconsin, kind of run through what they've done the last couple of weeks and months, talk about what they have coming in heading into 2024, give you guys my transfer portal grade. Before we do it, as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. It's been just an absolute blast talking the transfer portal over the last couple of weeks and months, and the amount of support you guys have shown the boys truly does mean a lot. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Brandon Lane. And I think you first talk about this. He's got that fire hydrant body. He has that body where he's not necessarily going to be the interior defensive lineman that stuffs the stat sheets. He's not going to finish with 15 tackles for a loss, 10 sacks, but he's a guy that makes everybody around him just play at a little bit of a different level. And I think that you look at some of the top programs across the country, especially on the defensive side of the football, they have body types like Brandon Lane, right? At 6'3", 300 pounds, you turn on some of the film. I mean, this is a fire hydrant body, right? He's a guy that plays with low pads. He's thick in the lower half, can really eat up those double teams. And I think most importantly, allow his linebackers to play clean and downhill. You think who benefits the most from this addition? It's guys like Tackett Curtis or Chaney or a guy like Jaheim Thomas, those linebackers that are going to be allowed to play a little bit more downhill and fast. Those who benefit. And those are the people who benefit the most from the Brandon Lane addition. And I mean, you get Brandon Lane in the fold, you take a look at what Wisconsin has done in the transfer portal over the last couple of weeks and months and say, I'm a really big fan of what Luke Fickell has done. I think they looked at this roster from 2023. I think they were very critical of what happened and said, hey, where do we need to get this roster better heading into 2024? Obviously, the Brandon Lane commitment certainly helps whenever you're playing in the Big Ten. Those kind of bodies certainly help you win football games. But you look at a guy like Joseph Griffin. This was a guy that, as a Michigan fan, I was banging the table for Michigan to go after someone like Joseph Griffin. You look at the transition to the Phil Longo offense. Joseph Griffin is a guy that at 6'3", 200 pounds, a former basketball player at high school. He works vertically down the field exceptionally well, was actually very productive for Boston College during his first 2 years of college football. I think that could be a difference maker for sure, but a guy that certainly helps this Wisconsin offense open up a little bit and attack that deeper third. You start scrolling down the list and start talking about some other guys that they added. One, Tyler Van Dyke. We've talked extensively about Tyler Van Dyke. I'm really excited about Tyler Van Dyke. I think he is extremely talented. You've seen the flashes of some really good football from him. He just has to be a little bit more consistent. Can he get that consistency? Can he find that consistency in Wisconsin? That's kind of the question, but I kind of want to focus on what they've done in the front seven. Right, Elijah Hill is coming from Albany. Tackett Curtis, a guy that, when you talk about high upside linebackers, I don't know if you'll find a higher upside linebacker than Tackett Curtis, who struggled as a true freshman at USC. He comes to Wisconsin. If he can put it together, you're looking at an all Big Ten linebacker, no doubt in my mind. You continue to look through some of these guys. Jaheim Thomas, a linebacker that led Arkansas, an SEC program, in tackles last year. You continue to scroll down and say, we did some really nice things around the line of scrimmage in the front seven. I think John P. probably being my favorite transfer portal addition. You take, a look at what John P. could be kind of some Nick Herbig vibes in terms of he's a little bit undersized, a ton of juice off the line of scrimmage. I think Brandon Land's a big time commitment. I'm a fan of what Luke Fickell has done in the transfer portal. And I think you're starting to see Luke Fickell do a really good job of, hey, we're going to recruit the high school ranks. You scroll up and take a look at what Wisconsin did in the high school ranks, top 25 class. If you start stringing together top 25 high school classes, top 25 transfer portal classes, you're going to have a roster that can compete at the highest level of the Big Ten. I think Luke Fickell is doing a phenomenal job building this roster, using both tools, both avenues to get talent. Brandon Lane, big time commitment. You guys know I'm a fan of what Luke Fickell's doing on the trail. Appreciate y'all rocking with the boys again. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.